Okay, it's 9:30 now, so I think we'll make a start, everyone. Good morning. I declare the council meeting CL 23/12 open and welcome everyone present. I shall start with a karakia. Whakatau mai te wairua, whakawate mai te hinanaro, whakarite mai te tinana, kia ea ai ngā mahi. Hai. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed, and I understand someone is filming as well, and the consequences of that. So I'm got an apology from Alan Soul, the mover and seconder, Councillor Murray Bench, Councillor Thwaites. All in favour say aye. Against carried. I'm not aware of any late items. Does anyone have a declaration of interest? No? Okay. There are no public excluded items, so we'll move on to public forum. We have a number of speakers this morning, but first up is Bruce Hamlin and Dr. Crone. So normally we allow 5 minutes for public forum. I have extended a wider or longer period for those two speakers to speak together. The other ones I'll try and keep to 5 minutes or thereabouts. So first up, Bruce and Dr. Crone, please.
Good morning. My name is Bruce Hamlin from Katikati. As ratepayers, my wife and I are absolutely horrified that the product you are contemplating putting into our public water is a poisonous, toxic waste product from fertiliser production. However, thank you for voting to at least question the government's mandate on fluoridation. I hope you've taken the time to read the flashcards and Child Smile brochure, which we placed in your pigeonholes. If not, please make the effort after this meeting. There are only two types of people who support fluoridation: people who are making money out of it and people who are completely ignorant of the toxicity of fluoridation. Fluoridating the water is mass medication. Would you take a Panadol to fix someone else's headache or insulin for someone else's diabetes? Of course you wouldn't. That'd be ridiculous. However, if you are currently on a prescription medicine, ask your doctor how sodium silicofluoride, a neurotoxin, will react with your medication. More than likely, a doctor won't be able to give you a straight answer, as the studies just haven't been done. I don't want to be told by any councillor that if I don't like fluoridation of our water supply, to move house and find somewhere that's not connected to council water. Mass medication violates a number of basic human rights, including the New Zealand Bill of Rights. We are now in a fight to retain these rights. If we don't, we will lose them. People standing against this neurotoxin in our water supply are not against fixing the problem of tooth decay. They can see a better way, one that doesn't affect children's IQs. Studies are now showing fluoride is as bad, if not worse, than lead. Go to Fluoride Free New Zealand website and look at the latest National Toxicology Program reviews in the USA. Sorry. Unfluoridated water does not cause tooth decay. Ask yourself the question, why is 98% of Europe unfluoridated? The simple answer is they've been there, done that, and know it is a total waste of money, doesn't work, and is detrimental to people's health and children's IQ levels. 95% of reticulated water doesn't get anywhere near the teeth. It goes to watering gardens, washing cars, toilets, showers, dishwashers, washing machines, irrigating and spraying kiwi fruit and avocado orchards, none of which suffer from tooth decay. Your annual plan document shows an estimated 1.86 million cost in actioning fluoridation. 95% of 1.86 million is 1.77 million. How are you going to justify to ratepayers that you are prepared to pour $1.77 million down the drain? What about the environmental issues associated with that? Oral hygiene and diet are the main factors in solving tooth decay. We must target the cause, not the symptoms. It's much better to spend 1.86 million directly at the cause and implement a similar program as Scotland has in the Child Smile program, which has been a huge success, far more effective and cost-efficient way. Environmental issues. I keep hearing the dosage is only 0.7 to 1 part per million. This neurotoxin does not break down. There's a cumulative. Documentation I have shows Greater Wellington Regional Council usage in 2009 was averaging 40 tonne per 9 months. So over the past 13 years, that equates to 680 tonnes of neurotoxin into the environment. Auckland's usage is even worse, currently at 450 tonne per year, all ending up in the environment. Bearing in mind that this toxic waste from fertiliser manufacturing is banned from being released into the atmosphere, rivers, sea and soil. Toxicology reports, special remarks on chronic effects on humans may cause cancer based on animal test data. For all forms of transport, it's classed as 6.1, which means substances are acutely toxic. Ecotoxicity, avoid contaminating waterways. Terrestrial toxicity, ecotoxic to terrestrial vertebrae. Ecological, if long-term biodegradation does occur, the products of degradation are as toxic as the original product. I know council's fallback is government will fine us $200,000 plus $10,000 a day. This is not democracy. It is a plain and simple standover, bullying and blackmail tactics. New Health New Zealand are planning to be in contact with all affected councils in the near future on how to deal with this threat by going for an injunction. So if you really care about our community's health, our children's IQ levels, dental health, and our environment in the Western Bay of Plenty, please stand up and challenge the government. Don't ask for an exemption, go for an injunction. Say no to fluoridation. Thank you. I will now pass you over to Dr. Crane.
Well, thank you very much, Bruce. And I'd like to thank everybody who's come here in the audience to support us. We feel greatly encouraged. And I feel Bruce has given a remarkably great start. I'm going to overlap in the themes, but the whole point of putting fluoride in the water is meant to be something to do with children's teeth. Now, it's not children under 3. The fluoride tablets that are available say do not give to pregnant mothers and do not give to children under 3. But it's somehow okay in this mad world that you can put that stuff in the drinking water and give 1 or 2 month old children fluoridated water, whereas when you try to prescribe it as a doctor, you can't give it. It says clearly on the label not to be given to children under 3. We're continually coming up across these strange paradoxes. We're talking about rot in children's teeth. And the question is, why do children's teeth go rotten? And I'll tell you very simply, it's sugar. You can go back in the history of humanity. If you look back at Elizabeth I in England, she was the only person in England in 1600 with rotten teeth. You can look at her photographs, black stubs. She was wealthy, she got fed sugar. The rise in sugar was incremental. I'm going to show you some slides from 1800. People were not eating sugar then. We are eating 100 or 120 times the amount of sugar now. And when your teeth are rotten, it's just a marker that you're rotting inside. It's going to damage other bits. facts. So let me just start with the talk here. I just wanted to introduce myself. I was in intensive care of Middlemore, and this comes up on a slide. I was medical director of the ambulance service, on the ambulance, chaired the board, and one of my interests was facts, collecting data. And so I set about systematically collecting ambulance resuscitation data in Auckland. And I set up the Utstein format, which is still used 30 years later. So if you look up St. John's cardiac arrest data for the whole of New Zealand, it's that same format from 30 years ago. It is still used. In 2001, the Resuscitation Council gave me the Sir David Hay Medal for an outstanding contribution to resuscitation in New Zealand. So facts have always been important to me, and looking to see what are risks and what are hazards and what are problems. I've talked about this before, but it seems to be very important. This is a very clear, I want to talk about harm. And the people that seem to advocate for fluoride seem to deny any harm. Any medicine that you give to somebody will have a harm. And part of the skill in medicine is knowing it's a sense of balance. And I would say to you as counsellors, everything you do is a trade-off. You will recognize that there are possible benefits and there are possible risks and harms. And so you will be very savvy to that. And that's so crucial in this whole business. When I started anesthetics in 75, this agent had been shown 4 years before, that was 52 years ago, that it released fluoride and it was toxic to the kidneys. This stuff was clearly, nobody actually measured to see if it was damaging the heart or the liver, and the study was only done over a week or so, and this was the graph. And I think, hopefully I'll have a laser pointer. Oops, I'm going backwards. But on the top slide, you can see that there's a very high peak, and that's when it was clearly evident the kidneys were being damaged. The lower level was lab test, but you can see that they stopped this after a week. And if you just simply extrapolate out those lines, these were people who, it says, you can see it says 1, 2, 3, those are days. These people would have been awake within an hour or so. And you can see that their levels would have been low then, but these things just rocketed up over 2 days. These people, this drug was breaking down. They were getting free fluoride in the bloodstream, which is meant to be really good for you. And it was damaging the kidneys. Now, the curious thing, I think, in the fluoride world is this particular thing in anesthetics is kind of sort of been lost, but I've brought it to you yet again to show you that this stuff is clearly damaging the kidneys. And at this point, I want to say too, kidneys help you excrete waste products. And if someone has fluoride in their bloodstream and they have damaged kidneys, the fluoride will damage the kidneys, but it'll make the kidney damage worse, surely. And in various populations, Maori and Polynesians with diabetes have more renal failure. So you're actually going to take people who you would probably want to think you're looking after, and you're actually going to harm these people. There is so much lack of balance in this whole business. And there was one little slide at the bottom that says, why did they put fluoride in anesthetic agents? Because it's like a bloody heat-seeking missile. It heads straight for fatty tissue. So it meant that if you put fluoride in an anesthetic agent, it would get into the brain. People would go to sleep more easily. They put fluoride in various drugs to get it into membranes, to get it into cells. So it seems perfectly sensible that this stuff damages the IQ in small children, that it is attracted to fat, it gets vested in the fat, and it stays in there in the brain. It gets into the brain, and it stays in the brain. And if you keep on topping these unfortunate children up with fluoride, then you're just going to accumulate this damn stuff in their systems. And I think we said last time, and is that this is peculiarly an American idea. The Europeans will not have a bar of soap with it. Bruce really was quite frank. Money is behind this. Everyone says, follow the money. This is driven by American corporations. As a council, you will be concerned about fly tipping. You will probably get brassed off with people fly tipping, and you will fine them for this. This is the most amazing business. This is a toxic industrial waste product from fertilizer works. It's got heavy metals, it's got cadmium, it's got all sorts of uranium if you go looking. But somehow it's been twisted around. So you're actually paying to take produce that you would fine people for if they dumped it. It's just a madness. No one in Europe will have a bar of soap with this idea. They actually think drinking water should be pure and clean. And I said this before, but I think it's worth emphasizing. Fluoride has no place. There are things that should be in your body, like iodine in your thyroid gland and a bit of cobalt in your B12, but there is no place for fluorine in mammals. It has no there are things you want to keep out of your body. You want to keep lead, you want to keep mercury, you want to keep arsenic out of your body, and you want to keep fluoride out of your body. And the fascinating thing was that there are sea sponges in plants, and they actually make a poison out of fluoride to punish other animals that try to eat them. Fluoride is made into a poison to punish other animals. There are two elements of people who've been poisoned, well, that are recognized. It's called fluorosis when you're poisoned. There's skeletal fluorosis when you damage the bones in the body, and there's dental fluorosis when you damage the teeth. Now, the dentists, amazingly, know all about this. They will say, oh yes, about 30% of children in New Zealand have some degree of dental fluorosis, which damages the teeth, but they try to say it's cosmetic. And here's the definition. Dental fluorosis is a common disorder characterized by hypomineralization. So it's hypo, it's not making the teeth stronger. It's actually weakening the teeth. The teeth it's hypo. This is the definition. The teeth are being weakened by the enamel isn't so good. And this is caused by excessive ingestion of fluoride. Skeletal fluorosis is a bone disease caused by excessive accumulation of fluoride, leading to weakened bones. You're sort of sold this idea that you get all strong teeth and strong bones. Well, it's great. No, it's the opposite. It weakens the teeth and it weakens the bones. And I'm going to show you some pictures about this. And they say in advanced cases, skeletal fluorosis causes painful damage to bones and joints. And I'm hoping that some of the pictures I show you we will empathize with these people and realize that they probably are suffering from painful disorders. These are people in India. They're lucky. They were lots of fluoride in the water. So they've got good teeth and good bones. But look at these unfortunate people. This is skeletal fluorosis. And this is when you get damage to the bones. The bones are weakened. And look at those unfortunate people. Here are more images of things. You can see the gentleman in the middle, his legs are all bent and bowed, and you can see the two gentlemen on the right. These folks are reduced to using walking sticks, and you get bent. This is what fluorosis does if you get a decent amount in your bones. Here's more pictures of this.
Dr. Grant, can I say got a couple more minutes left? So if you can.
Okay. Dental fluorosis damages teeth. This is both pitting the teeth and damaging the teeth. And I do want to go on to this, but I really beg minutes. This is most important to make you understand. Folks looking at Maori skulls, pre-European Maori, there was no tooth rot in Maori when they were living by the sea, eating things. Sorry. Maori were said to have the most immune race to dental decay. That people said this is incredible. They seem to be genetically immune, but it wasn't that. Europeans had rotten teeth. Maori children who lived under European conditions entirely had 95% decay. It's nothing to do with genetics. It's the stuff you put in your mouth. It's the sugar you put in your mouth that rots your teeth. It's very simple. Here are some pictures. And what people emphasize, this girl has the most beautiful smile, wonderful teeth. This was well before fluoride toothpaste. But the key thing the dentist says is sugar actually damages the whole mouth. It narrows the mouth and it damages the teeth. And you can see the sort of damage. And as I put, this is done by sugar. It's very simple. If you had mold in one of your council buildings, you wouldn't get somebody to wallpaper over the mold. You would say, we've got to fix this. There's water coming in. We're papering over the cracks with messing around with this stuff. And just the Mahia Peninsula, one of the most isolated groups, had good access to seafoods. They weren't eating sugar and flour. They were using seafoods abundantly. They had much the best teeth. It's very clear what's going on. And I just want to show this to you. This is sugar consumption. If you go right down to the bottom corner, before Captain Cook got to New Zealand, nobody was eating sugar in England. Look at this. The sugar has roared up. Your teeth are a marker into your body. You are damaging yourself inside. You're laying down fat. You're laying down fat. Around 25% of kids in New Zealand have got fatty livers. They're eating sugar. The sugar is made into fat. I was talking to the GP the other day. She said it's just everywhere. But we're sort of denying this. It's screaming. 45% of American adults have fatty livers. The biggest cause of liver transplantation around in Western countries is fatty liver. This didn't exist 40 years ago. We're creating all these monstrous things around us and we're denying them, we're not looking at them. And I just put on this graph, as you load a society up with sugar, you start to get things. You start to get heart disease, then you get diabetes, then you get cancer coming in. In the 1950s, the Eskimos were deemed to be immune from cancer because they were, but feed them sugar and Western food and the Eskimos get cancer. So in summary, this is a, as Bruce so eloquently said, this is a toxic industrial waste product come from fertilizer works. It's got all sorts of crap in it. It's not anything pure at all. I've given you examples of harm that this stuff does to the kidneys, to the bone, to the teeth, and preciously to small children. You're going to damage how many people with terrible grandchildren. God. I've talked about pre-open marriage. Sugar consumption, and you know, it is staring us in the face. If you have mold in the council building, you wouldn't put paper over the wall. You'd work out where the bloody water was coming in to fix it. We are distracting ourselves from the real issue by messing. Bruce talked about fluoride. Auckland, they are dumping 1 ton of fluoride in their system every day. Can you imagine a lorry going to the end of the pier at the Waitemata and dumping a ton of fluoride in the Waitemata Harbour and then going out to somewhere else every day dumping a ton of fluoride in the Waitemata Harbour? It is just inconceivable that we do this. I was going to talk to you about shellfish in the Tauranga Harbour. We try to be guardians of our harbour. You know, Maori would not want the shellfish will be damaged. This stuff will get into the fat and the fish and shellfish. So anyway, thank you for your time. I think we'll.
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce and Dr. Crone. I'll ask elected members if they have any questions. I have Councillor Cogshead first, please.
Thank you both for your extremely informative presentations and amazing crowd you've got with you. Well done. My question is, in your view, why do you think this is being mandated by the government, if you have a view on that?
I certainly have a view on that, but I don't think it'd go down very well in this environment. If you look at how fluoride was used back in even World War II by the Russians and the German armies, and it was basically to dumb people down, to control people. That's my point of view.
I just find it incredibly misguided. It's just they will not recognize harm. It's almost like a cult, you know. It just they keep on going on about it, and they won't hear the broader issues. Medicine should be, well, I was going to say this earlier, medicine should be all around an individual. You know the person, they're individuals, they're treated individually. This is just the most extraordinary sort of infliction on everybody. None of you here need fluoride in your water. You've formed your teeth. You're doing this for small children. Well, okay, well, let's focus. I mean, I would imagine for 1.8 million, you could spend some money usefully on focusing on either, you know, lower socioeconomic groups, whatever you like. But, you know, if you really want to be seen to be doing some good, focus on those kids that have the issues and help them, and be brave enough to say, we've got to get rid of, we've got to cut down sugar. We've got to recognize that sugar is harming, and it's going to be harming you if it's.
Councillor Henry and then Councillor Daly.
Oh, thank you very much for all of you coming in today. I think it's the most I've ever seen in the chambers. So well done. And this is not the first time you've presented to us, local government. I'm just interested, because it's not us that's made the decision, and you're very aware of that. What are you at central government? So can you inform me and us what has been done with other groups that are canvassing our elected members, our parliamentarians?
There's Most probably Kane Titchener would be better answering that question after his address, but the question was again what's been done. When I asked that exact same question, Fluoride Free New Zealand has been lobbying to the government for many, many years, and they just refuse to listen. So we need to now start by advocating in other ways, and with the help of the ratepayers, the councils, to lobby government that way rather than just on individuals. They just don't listen otherwise.
Councillor Daly.
Yeah. Thanks for the presentations, very emotional. Dr. Crone, can you tell me, you've obviously done a lot of study on this, is fluoride removed from fertiliser on purpose, or is it simply a byproduct of the process?
I understand it's just part of whatever it is, the phosphate. I mean, I think people are looking for phosphate, but you get this great mixture of things, don't you? You have calcium fluoride, and you have a whole lot of other fluorides that are there. So the fluoride is just a mixture. When in the 30s, when they were trying to work out what was causing sheep disease, there was cobalt, there was iron, and it took them a while to work out what it was. You don't get a pure mineral. When you get rocks, whatever it is, the rocks of Morocco, it's got a whole pile of stuff in it. And so fluoride is there as a contaminant. And this is what I showed the pictures in India. The fluoride, calcium fluoride is deep underground. And as they dig deeper for wells, they get more fluoride, and it contaminates the water, and it damages their bones, damages their brains, and damages their teeth. They get rotten. So, but it's just it's a contaminant, and comes out of the general. I mean, I think that's the point. You would not allow the fertilizer works to go and dump waste product from fertilizer into the harbour. You wouldn't even. I understand you can't even go out to sea and dump it, and yet we have this crazy world when you can make it into a thing. Put lipstick on the pig, call it a name, and you can happily dump it into, particularly here, the Tauranga Harbour, we cherish that. And to think that we're going to contaminate this thing with fluoride, and Bruce made the point that I like to make, that a lot of the water in the Bay of Plenty, I think, is town supply, and it's sprayed on crops. And it's, we have small agriculture, we're continually striving to look after the land and respect the land. And you would not want us to be putting poisons on our land, but yet here you're going to be encouraging us to spray all this damn stuff over the plants.
Last question from Councillor Murray Benj, please.
Could you tell me, please, in your opinion, as to why the government has taken away the community's right to have an opinion on this?
Well, as Francis Urquhart used to say, I couldn't possibly comment. I mean, I think we all know. I think you know what I think. We get lectured on liberty and freedom and democracy and diversity and inclusion, and yet we go the other way into coercion. It's bizarre.
Thank you, Bruce and Dr. Crone. I'll now call on Kane Titchener for his talk in public forum. Thank you.
Good morning, Mayor and councillors. I'm Kane Titchener. I'm from Te Amutu, come over the hill this morning. I've been working to stop fluoridation in New Zealand for the last 10 years as a volunteer. I just want to, I probably know more than most people probably in the country, to be honest, on this issue. Bruce took me back. In Auckland, they used to dump 650 tonne of hydrofluorosilicic acid into the water supply and then out to the harbour. That's dropped down to 450 because I spoke to Auckland Council in 2016 to lower the levels to 0.7 parts per million. So I've been at this for a long time. I do talks around the country in public, and I speak to council, spoken to Timaru District Council in the last 3 weeks, debated 2 dentists in Timaru, just spoken to New Plymouth District Council. I'm on the Te Awamutu and Kiki Community Board. I've got 3 notice of motions at the moment to speak to the Service Delivery Committee at the Waipaha District Council to get the NTP reviewed and also to join the legal review injunction. You can join the legal review injunction, and that's what I'm asking you to do today. It's my request to this council to join that injunction. My understanding it's $250. I've got the legal case number and the lawyer that you can call, and you can get that underway. So you do actually have a choice here. So please don't think you don't have a choice. The community knows you've got a choice. Cool. So the National Toxicology Program is in the final stages of finalising a 6-year review of fluoride's neurotoxicity. The Board of Scientific Council has met on the 4th and 16th of May. You can go and watch those YouTube meetings if you have the time. The NTP was established by the Department of Health and Human Services. It's a collaboration between the National Institutes for Occupational Safety and Health, the FDA, and the National Institute for Environmental Health Sciences. These are the top organisations in the United States. The NTP focuses on testing, research and analysis of agents to identify toxic effects. It informs decisions by health regulatory and research agencies to safeguard the public health. This is the agency you want reviewing fluoride's neurotoxicity. This review was issued in 2 parts, a monograph and a meta-analysis, and it concluded that prenatal and early life exposures can reduce IQ. The meta-analysis reported that 52 of 55 human IQ studies showed a lowering of IQ, but that's 95% consistency. There was a 7 IQ point reduction. Of the high quality studies, there are high and low quality studies. There were 19 high quality studies, and 18 of those showed a lowering of IQ. High quality means the data used, the creation and the design and implementation of that research. They also found that there was no safe threshold of fluoride in water. Of those top quality studies, the Mexican and Canadian cohort data showed a lowering of IQ between 3 to 5 IQ points on average. So in New Zealand right now, in 52% of New Zealand, we are lowering our children's IQ between 3 to 5 IQ points. Now, funnily enough, the ADA weren't very happy about the National Toxicology Program because they've been essentially sucked into this whole thing. They're promoting this fluoride. So the question before about what are the motivations, essentially people have been hoodwinked about this, and it's just one of these orthodoxies that you just continues on. So for example, lead in petrol and paint, we knew that lead was a neurotoxin in the late 70s, 80s. We took it out in 1996. The Ministry of Health defended lead right up until 1996. 20 years later, we have research to show that lead in petrol and paint was lowering children's IQ by 4 IQ points. So the dentists wanted a 3rd review by NASEM, which is the National Academies of Science, Engineering and Medicine. NASEM is the top scientific organisation in the United States. They already had 2 peer reviewed. They wanted a 3rd. They're just trying to stall this information. The NTP said, no, we're going to try and release this as soon as we possibly can. They wanted a disclaimer to say that this wasn't related to water fluoridation. The NTP came out and responded and said they've been going back and forward with the ADA on this, and they said the highest quality studies, that's the Mexican and Canadian cohort data, showing that the fluoride lowers IQ at the 0.7 level. The 0.7 level, okay? To date, there's been no response from the Ministry of Health. In 2021, there was an update to the Gluckman-Skegg review from 2014, and they said because the harm was at 1.5 parts per million, they said that they could just ignore it, completely forgetting margin of safety. Babies, pregnant mothers should not be drinking fluoridated water. this chart is directly out of the NCP report, and you can see that, I don't have a pointer, I don't think, but at 1.5 parts per million, you've got a 6 IQ point reduction. That's that firm line there with the red line, and at 0.7, that's what we're going to be fluoridate at the lowest level. There's a 3 IQ point reduction on average. By the way, this is what's happening in Auckland right now. It started in 1966. This is a 5 IQ point reduction. You can go and see this op-ed. 5 IQ point reduction lowers, it shifts the curve across the population. So what it does is halves the number of geniuses, that's those above 115 IQ, and it increases by half the number of mentally challenged, those below 70. So what I'm asking and requesting is that this council joins the injunction. You've got to push back. I can provide the lawyer's details to you, and I can probably answer a lot of the questions that were asked before. I'll just respond to Bruce. He's got it slightly wrong. That whole the Nazi Russian thing is actually disputed, so there's not actually enough evidence to support that. Just want to clear that up. Sorry, Bruce. But I'm happy to take any other questions. So I'm probably the most informative person, one of in the country, to be honest. So if you've got any questions, please ask me.
Thank you, Kane. I've got a question from Councillor Murray Benge.
Can you tell me, please, why the legal case, who's behind the legal case that's challenging, and why should we come in with to support that injunction?
So yeah, New Health New Zealand is taking the court case.
Who is?
New Health New Zealand. It's on the.
Sorry, Kane, can you just clarify? Because that sounds like a confusing way of saying Health New Zealand. Is it a different?
Sorry, yeah, it's a different organisation.
organisation?
Yep, it's a different organisation. So New Health New Zealand is the organisation, and you can we'll give you the details for the lawyer, but my understanding is you can take an injunction for as little as $250.
Can you tell us how many councils are involved in that?
All 14 councils who are currently under the mandate can go ahead with this injunction if they can.
And why do you think they've taken away the community's right to have a say on it?
So a lot of people don't understand the Ministry of Health's policy is to promote fluoridation. So the Ministry of Health takes what you'd think is the Ministry of Health would take all the information in and then make a decision based on the information that's in front of them. But what they actually do is they promote fluoridation. That's their policy. That's why. So there's a reason why you guys are being told that you're going to get a $200,000 fine and $10,000 a day. It's $3.7 million a year, right? It's because that's what you have to believe to do this. If it was any good, you'd be saying, we want it. You're being forced to do it.
Any further questions for Kane? Councillor Murray, Councillor Granger, sorry.
Thank you. Your Worship. The money you mentioned, the 250, is that what it costs for anybody to take an injunction, or is that what it costs for this council to join?
That was the information that was told, $250. It may have gone up slightly, I'm not sure. But if you speak to the lawyer, they'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to do. Yeah.
Councillor Wickers.
Morning.
Morning.
Great to see you and all the assembled clan. I was forwarded that NBT report. It's a 1,500-page document, so it's quite hard work to read through it. So
Yep.
Obviously I didn't do that. I looked at the introduction and the summary. Whereabouts in the document does it refer to no safe level? Because what I did read was that it was more above the 1.5. So if you could reference that, that would be whereabouts in the document that actually was.
That chart there shows the children's IQ and water fluoride levels. So it shows that as the water fluoride reduces down to close to zero, you've got a lowering of IQ.
So within the 1,500-page document, where is that section? Because I went looking for it and I couldn't find it.
we'll be able to provide that for you. So what we're also asking is for you to go to the Ministry of Health, and we need you to ask for a please explain on this document.
So just reading the introduction and the summary, it basically is saying excessive fluoridation, which is the level was set at 1.5. So if on a quick reading of that document, it doesn't support that, but you're saying it's in there.
Yep.
It's important that we can actually find that because if we just go with the above 1.5, they'll just say, well, it's below, so it's irrelevant. So that bit of information is very important.
Yep. So if you go back, we've got all the emails, the highest quality studies showing lower IQs in children were done in so-called optimally fluoridated areas.
Find page number.
Yep, we can do that.
Thank you.
But to be honest, this is why we've got a Ministry of Health. Like, they should be doing all this, but we're volunteers.
Councillor Danny.
You can, obviously, you've done a lot of study on this. What do you make of Ashley Bloomfield announcing this mandate on the last day of his job? And do you think he was simply smoothing the way for the next director, or how much planning and preparation had gone into this before he made that announcement?
Yeah, so it was his parting gift to the nation, wasn't it? As if he hadn't done enough. But anyway, look, I actually don't really want to talk about motivations. I think we need to, that's probably down the line. What I want to do is talk about the science and the facts and just really discuss that. But yeah.
Councillor Henry.
It is my understanding that whilst you've talked about the Ministry of Health, it is a directive by the collective group of parliamentarians that this happens, and they have passed that on to the Ministry of Health to administer it. So we should also be lobbying at this particular time our people who are standing to lead us in our nation.
Yep.
So that's a message that we need to, it's not the health
Yep.
department necessarily, because they've got that directive, that's their job.
Yep.
They've been told to do it.
Yes, I've spoken to multiple MPs over the years. Their ears are closed to this. Shane Retty was challenged in a recent meeting around fluoridation and the NTP review, and he basically just said, "Well, you've got your science, we've got our science. Well, we've got the top science in the world. So what have you got?" So I would say yes, we are going to be lobbying, but you, the council here, you need to take responsibility. Councils and local government New Zealanders, we talk about, well-being, don't we? So how was it? How was putting a neurotoxin in the water supply helping well-being?
Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
My question to you is, obviously the government have access to science and people who would be recommending this. So I know we've got a bunch here today who are against it. So how are those people with the science that you've produced here today? How is it that the government has come to this? If there's other people in this field who are actually endorsing this?
Yeah.
And who are they?
So we would absolutely welcome the Ministry of Health to sit down here and explain to us, and we can have a conversation about the science. And we've got the top scientists in the world on this. So there's a legal action going on in the US right now where we've got the affidavits from Dr. Bruce Lanphier. He's the lead expert for the US EPA. He's saying that fluoride's a neurotoxin. And we've got Dr. Philippe Grandjean, who's the mercury expert for the US EPA. He's giving affidavits for that US legal action. So we've got the top scientists in the world ready to have this inquiry. We absolutely need an inquiry on this to get to the bottom of it. And you're going back to the Gluckman-Skegg review from 2014. We've got a complete critique of that document that you can take a look at. So we're very confident in what we're saying.
Councillor Coxett.
Sir, you mentioned something concerning the Bill of Rights. I was just interested in you elaborating on that, if you wouldn't mind. I think it was you. You mentioned the Bill of Rights.
Sorry, Councillor Coxett. We were asking questions of Mr. Titchener.
Okay, well, perhaps Mr. Titchener can answer that for me, please.
So basically, that's the legal side of things, where the South Taranaki District Council what they did was basically just change the law around what a medicine is. So I think they said it did breach the Bill of Rights, but it was justified, was basically how they went about it. But that was a split decision. The actual Chief Justice disagreed with that ruling. Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ken.
you.
And I'll now call Christina Humphries as our last speaker in public forum.
Good morning, everyone. Is that working? Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this side of the counter instead of over there. And thank you for all the good speakers we've had, explaining more of the finer details about fluoride, the downfall of fluoride. It was excellent that Tracy put forward a motion but I believe, and you've been already told, that the exemption won't work. You'll have to do a interim injunction to get some action, which is what I want, or I want all these people want. To me, the two main issues are the fluoridation of Western Bay water supplies, and the other one, number two, is the government directive, not of the people's choosing. I have already informed you, the council, that back in the 60s, I trained as a school dental nurse. And this was the time when the experimenting with fluoride began in New Zealand. And as I trained in Willis Street, Wellington, the big green building it used to be. It's not there now, with 50 dental chairs there, which most of the schools, surrounding schools, were bussed in and out every day and every week for their dental care. At that time, half of Wellington area had fluoride in their water supply and the other half didn't. And this was the experiment to see how it all panned out. And as an 18-year-old, I was suitably impressed at the difference with the children that had the fluoride. But I, in my naivety, did not know about the toxic side of fluoride. And I don't think any of my other colleagues would have either. So why suddenly again is government, they come and go with these directives on implementing fluoride in local water supplies. But why do councils insist on wanting to jump in and do what these government directives order? Say no. Government are not your master. These ratepayers here, these people here who've got to suffer of having fluoride in their water, they're your ratepayers. They pay your wages. And to me, tell the government to butt out. I mean, why do you think otherwise? These government directives, what I could not abide when I was a councillor, and I seem to get into trouble all the time here because I was always opposing what they wanted. I wonder if some of you didn't actually realise that they were government directives. Were not directives from these people. So please grow a spine. Yes. If these people are your ratepayers and the people funding all this, I mean, you seem to all jump in as soon as the government says, oh, we'll pay you $500,000 or something to start with. But hello, in the end, you end up wearing the cost, and so do these people. Never mind what it does to people. Do you not realise yet that governments wish to do away with councils? If the new RMA comes into being, you will not have a council. Most of everything will be put back to the regional councils and every other man and his dog, LGNZ, whatever, but it won't be you guys. They want to do away with elected people, and we don't need that as ratepayers. We need people that we can talk to, but we expect some response from you people to stop this. You know it's wrong. I can't believe there was even two. Don, is he not here? We're all for this, for goodness sake. It just mind boggles. So remember democracy, which is New Zealand is presently struggling to hold on to. Back in the day, a lot of monarchs, kings and queens actually lost their head over things like this. So maybe we have to go back to that. In 1215, rather than risk that fate, King John signed the Magna Carta, which included many of these individual rights that we have taken for granted, but now realize that we are losing them. In some nations, many individual rights are written into the Constitution, which binds their government. In New Zealand, we have the Bill of Rights, 1990. Only in time of war or declared civil emergencies or the conviction of certain crimes, which lately, of course, was supposed to be the blooming COVID, which I had, which was barely a flu. But anyway, what we Kiwis really have allowed to, we're allowing the Labor government to give us under false reasoning. Now we are faced with a blatant denial of individual democratic rights in this water proposal to demand a government directive to introduce fluoride into our drinking water. What process of consultation, if any, have we had, the people? None. Clause 11, the Bill of Rights says everyone has the right to refuse to undergo any medical treatment. And it means putting it in the water or anywhere else where we don't get to say that it's going to go in there. Fluoride is a medical treatment within the meaning of the law, but it is illogical to argue that fluoride is not a medical treatment, but then introduce it into our drinking water. It is a medical treatment. If it is a medical treatment, well, the Bill of Rights clearly prohibits the introduction to communal water. There is no logical reason to introduce it into our communal water. The key issue here, however, is not the effectiveness or otherwise of fluoride as a treatment for oral health. There are alternatives, like the purchase of fluoride pills or fluoride toothpaste. And if the government wants to do something, we'll let them fund that. It would be a far cheaper option for starters. But to impose it on this en masse is unethical and totally wrong. No one, even most voting ratepayers or the government itself, has the authority to put any form of medical treatment into our communal water. To do so is the tyranny of the majority and totally against our human rights. And I'm always worried that whoever's putting it in our water might have been on the booze the night before and he gives you a double dose. I mean, you wouldn't know what you were going to get.
Christina, I caution you on criticising staff in that way. But are you finished? Are you
yes,
more
finished,
say? Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from Christina? Councillor Murray-Benj.
Christina, you know that this council has to consult on just about everything. Is it your view that the community's right to have a say on this, on the fluoridation of the water supply, is the thing that's fundamentally wrong?
Yes, I do. I mean, you're getting more like the Labor government every day. You don't want to consult on anything. We just get told it's gone through. You know, I mean, I could really get in on about this government, but anyway, I'm not here for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Daly.
Okay. Christine, I like your argument on the Bill of Rights. Very good. My question to you is, as a dental nurse, and obviously the mandated fluoridation that we've received so far are targeted at lower decile communities, so-called. Dr. Crone talked about the alternative is to spend the money on targeting
Pills or,
sugar alternatives to preventing teeth decay in children. So do you think that, why haven't the government done more in that space, do you think? Or is there a reasonable,
sorry, why
is
was
there a
what?
reasonable
The government?
things that they could be doing instead of this?
Okay,
Yeah. Christine, did you have an answer?
I could elaborate on that. The World Economic Forum, there's 8 billion people in the world and they actually want rid of 4 billion. So work it out. They keep doing all these sorts of things to get rid of us. That's my opinion.
so with any further questions before Christina takes a seat? Okay, it doesn't appear to be, so I think we'll wind up public forum there, but I just wanted to let you all know that the letter seeking exemption has now been sent to the Ministry of Health. But with that, I'm thinking we might just have a break for morning tea because that's the end of the public forum. We'll move into the meeting proper after that. So we'll just break for 10 minutes, or and councillors could come back at 10:40, please. Thank you. I'm sure it can be made available. Thank you.
Excuse me, Kate. I'm sure that amongst the people here today, we could put a hat around and collect the $250. Yep, I'm sure
Well, you can give me $250 if you want, but no. No. The rules are that we don't make decisions based on an item in public forum. So that's how we work, I'm afraid.
When would you make a decision then on this? Because, you know.
Well, there's a process to do that, but it's not today. Right. Okay.
Well, in public forum, it needs to be an agenda item.
Process.
Yes, yeah.
As I said, there's a process to make decisions at council, and it's not kind of spur of the moment on public forum. That's just how the process works. Okay, I appreciate your interest.
We don't want that all decentralized. We want you guys to have these jobs so that you can act for us, for the people. That's what you're employed for.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, I think we better crack on with the rest of the meeting. So moving to page 8 and community board minutes for receipt. So call for a mover and seconder to receive the minutes of the Way Beach Community Board meeting on the 19th of June. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Henry. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Minutes of the Audit, Risk and Finance meeting held 23rd of May. Call for mover and seconder, please. Councillor Granger, Councillor Henry. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Minutes of the annual plan, long-term plan committee meeting on the 14th of June. Deputy Mayor Scrimger. Okay. Councillor Murray Benj. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of June. I shall move those. Seconded, Deputy Mayor Scrimger. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 29th of June. I'll move those. We're on page 68. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 29th of June. I said I'll move those. Councillor Henry seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Page 80, minutes of the Strategy and Policy Committee, 6th of July. Councillor Henry, Deputy Mayor Scrimger, all those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Yeah, okay, which brings us to page 84 and the reports. Electoral System Decision 2025 and 2028 Triennia. So if I invite Katie to come up and present, please.
Good morning, elected members, your worship, and so I'll take this report as read, and obviously happy to answer any specific questions you have.
Okay. Any questions from councillors? Okay, doesn't seem to be any. So in which case I shall look for a.
I think there is.
Oh, there is. Okay, Councillor Murray Benj. Oh, fantastic. I was about to say we're looking for a mover and seconder and you have to choose which option you would like, Councillor Murray Benj. Okay, so that's 3, 1, and all the others 1, 2, 3, 1, and 4. Okay, can I second it, please? Deputy Mayor Scrimger. Is there any debate on that? No? Okay, I shall put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to page 92. Appointment of independent hearings commissioners for the Tynex Group Limited notified consent process. So Alison and Natasha.
Good morning,
the floor is yours.
council. Good morning, councillors. I'd like to introduce to you Natasha Ryburn. Natasha is council's environmental consents manager. She's been with us almost a year, and she comes from a background which includes DOC, Waikato District Council, and probably a number of others that I can't recall off the top of my head, but it has a resource consenting and resource management background. So I'll pass over to Natasha to talk you through this report.
Morena, Mayor and elected members. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'll start again. Morena Koto, elected members and Mayor. It's great to be in front of you today. This is my first visit, so I won't take the report as read. I'll give you a bit of a summary. If that's helpful, but thanks, Alison. Yes, I've been working in the Resource Management Act area for my sins for over 24 years now. So, and I've previously worked at the department and at the regional level. So, and now local government context. So, That's just a little bit more. So the purpose of the report that you've received is to recommend and seek your decision on the appointment of 2 independent hearing commissioners to hear and decide on the Tinex Group Limited resource consent application for the Te Puna Business Park. Now, just as a bit of background, this is the site's 245 Te Puna Station Road. So this is one of 3 sites for the area, for the industrial park area. Earlier this year, the applicant requested that the application, which is a land use application, and they're requesting a 2-year term to undertake industrial activities at the site. So earlier this year, they requested that their application be publicly notified, and that was done on the 23rd of June. And submissions are now currently open, and they close on the 24th of this month, July. So we have a hearing tentatively scheduled for the week beginning of the 9th of October. That's just to give you a bit of a sense of timeframes. So in the report, we've recommended the appointment of 2 commissioners, and I'll just speak to a bit of their background. There is some background in that report, but one of the commissioners that we would like to appoint is Rob van Voorthausen, who is a highly experienced Resource Management Act independent commissioner. He, I believe, has done over 390 hearings, and 290 of those have been as the chair. So we would be seeking to have Rob as the chair for this hearing panel. The second person that we've recommended is James Fetu, who has a planning degree, also a master's. He's had experience on hearings for 3 councils, and he has expertise on cultural matters and Te Ao Māori perspectives. So those are the 2 people we've put forward. We did look at our existing register and their expertise, their availability, and this is where we got to in terms of the recommendations for you. So those are the 2 people we've put forward. They're both currently certified in terms of the Making Good Decisions certificate, and Rob van Voorthausen last year also went through his chair endorsement again. So just to give you that assurance that they're both accredited. So those are probably the main points that I wanted to make in terms of the report, and I'm very happy to take any questions around that recommendation of those 2 commissioners.
Councillor Granger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I understand there are other consents pending from the neighbours. Is it the intention to retain these 2 for all the hearings so that we have one sort of?
Yes, ideally that would be what we would be seeking, but of course we'd have to check timeframes and availability. But certainly we have signalled and given them a really strong background on all the other consents and the site generally. But that would be the ideal outcome, is to retain those 2 for those other processes, should we be in the same position with those.
Councillor Henry and then Councillor Mowbridge.
So I know the property, but I'm just looking to see here, can you give an overview of the nature of the work that will be up? And I'll have one more question after that.
Yep, sure. So there are 4 tenants for this particular site, and just at a high level, the activities that those 4 tenants do are different and similar in some ways, but there's relocatable houses stored, skip bins, portable fencing and building materials is what one tenant does. There's another tenant that also stores and renovates relocatable houses. There's another tenant that uses the site for storing swimming pools, and there's another one that uses the site for storing large earthwork machinery tyres. So those are the 4 activities that occur on the site through those 4 tenancies.
So my next question, and this is probably going to come out in the hearing, but it's glaringly obvious that that road is under pressure already, and that's not really designed for an industrial. But,
Councillor Henry, I think it's best if
Yeah.
we stick to the issue about selecting commissioners rather than try to litigate the consent.
So that
now.
covered in the hearing, yeah.
Councillor Maybench.
Natasha, do you just intend to have 2 commissioners for this hearing?
Yes, we thought long and hard about the issues that will be heard, and we believe that we've got the coverage of the issues between those 2 independent commissioners. When we were initially we were looking at 3 potentially initially, but of course the applicant was concerned about cost. So we reviewed that and decided on these 2, and they've got the coverage of the expertise that we need.
Thank you.
Okay, so if there's no further questions, happy to move. Okay, seconded Councillor Henry. Was any further debate on that? There being none, I shall put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. So moving on to page 97 and the Chief Executive Officer's meeting report. Any questions of that from elected members, please? Councillor Henry.
Could our CEO just talk a little bit about the Urban Task Force meeting? Was there anything significant that came to mind from that? Oh, it was on the way back on the 22nd of May.
Yeah, I'm just trying to recall, councillor. Nothing significant. This is some developers that represent the group that came and met with us. They meet regularly with Tauranga Council as well, just to talk about urban development across the Western Bay. So they were it was really a relationship building meeting, so that we in the future we can meet with them on a regular basis to understand, be aligned strategically. And I'm hoping that that'll also be with TCC in the room at the same time.
Thank you.
Councillor Cox said. It doesn't matter, but Councillor Maybench, why don't you go first?
26th of May, Mr. Holyoake, you met with the Racing Working Group meeting. Can you give us some idea as to where that's at the moment?
Certainly, and you'll recall at the workshop last week or the week before, Tracy gave an update on the racing work. So basically, at this stage, we have identified some sites that might be an alternate to the existing racecourse, but of course, that's all subject to the changes going through that affect Tauranga racecourse. So they haven't even made the decision yet about whether that's going to decide what might be happening with the hospital, etc., and a whole lot of business case that would have to happen to fund that change. So until those things happen, it's probably sitting in limbo a little bit. But what we have done is, in anticipation, done a little bit of work about what alternative site could be.
Because it's such intensive development going to go along there by Greerton, the open space is really quite important. And obviously, do they want to keep that?
I don't know the answer to that. It's probably a matter for TCC.
Yeah, I was going to say, so it's what happens to the existing site is up to TCC. Our role in this is potential other sites for any racecourse that might need to move. Yeah. Councillor Coxhead.
Oh, just, I see you were at Katikati Community Board meeting on the 31st of May, but it was just, is it that you attend that one, John, and then the other 4 community boards are attended by other senior staff, or is that how it works?
That's correct. So we have an assigned board that we look after for continuity.
Okay. Councillor Daly.
John, thank you for meeting with the Puketoi Ratepayers and Residents Association. We've had some feedback that they very much valued the meeting, and looking forward to some positive outcomes. I recently attended the Pinegara Community Association meeting, and they traditionally, I don't think, have had the opportunity to meet with the CEO or senior staff, but I believe they're going to put in a request for a similar treatment to as Pugahina. And obviously they don't have their own community boards. They have the community association, and you know, really, I think value the opportunity to have that additional input into council affairs and matters.
Yeah, and so I look forward to them reaching out and happy to meet with them when they do.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll look for a mover and seconder on to receive that report, please. Councillor Henry, Councillor Crawford, no debates. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Okay, moving on to my report on page 99. Are there any questions of me? As you before I ask questions, I will just give you an update on item number 3 there on the Bay of Plenty Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Cyclone Gabrielle Disaster Relief Fund. And I can confirm that we were awarded the remaining $100,000 that was available for the Bay of Plenty region. So in fact, we ended up taking the whole of the fund for the region. Councillor Granger.
Well, I found that paragraph slightly confusing. So was there initially 200K voted?
There was $200,000 made available by government for Cyclone Gabrielle relief in the Bay of Plenty. In the end, we are the only applicants for that fund.
Oh, I see. So it was, we went to war.
Well, we'd applied for half of it first. It seemed a bit off to apply for the whole lot off the bat. But no one else, since no one has applied, we got the rest of it as well. Thank you. Councillor Coxhead.
I see you're to attend the LGNZ conference 26th to 28th of July.
Yes.
Were we going to have an opportunity to talk about who you might, well, who we might want to see you voting for the new president?
We did have a discussion, as you'll recall, about the remits. So I've got indication from elected members where their views are on the remits. I'm happy to take.
I wasn't here, sorry.
Okay, I think you're away, yeah, and I'm happy to, if you wish to suggest who you favour, I'm happy to take that on board.
Okay.
Okay, but it's a secret ballot, so it's yeah. Okay, Councillor Henry.
Just item number 2, the confirmation of 140K for funding. Where did you apply for that from?
So at the start of my term, I decided that we would join Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, which has two strands to it. One's having like a mentoring side of it. That's the 2-year program. And then there's this side of it, which is about finding, seeking, as it says, seeking to place youth into employment. And that's in Pookie End, because as you'll be aware, Katikati has a similar but different program in place there. So that is funded by, I'm going to say MSD, but I could be wrong. But it's through central government.
So you could apply to a lot of different organisations.
No, there's a program and they just decide how much each council will get. Some councils who've been doing it longer and have got bigger targets have got more money.
Yeah.
But this is our first go at it.
Oh, so it will always be through that.
Yeah,
MSC.
and it was recently renewed. There was some uncertainty about whether that MTFJ money would be renewed, because I think it was originally a COVID funding stream. Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? Councillor Daly.
Yeah, James, thank you for, I don't know if it was you personally or however we got it. I'm thankful that we got that extra 100,000 for the cyclone relief. But my question is, have we got a report on where the money was allocated? Was it directed to private remediation efforts, or has council used it for some of the problems that we've had ourselves?
So there are a number of criteria as to how you can use that fund. You can't just use it to fund council activities. So it has all gone to private individuals and other some Marae and things as well. So that's, we had. Yeah, so there was an open process. People applied. We had about 20 applicants for that, and give or take, there was pretty well equally distributed. So Deputy Mayor Scrimgeour and I sat on a panel to decide those, and that was recently agreed.
Is it possible to get a report?
I'm sure it can be made available. Yep. Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Yeah, just Mayor's Task Force for Jobs tracking meeting team. So I see that was for 6 months, which has come to the end. Unfortunately, CoLab have found some other funding for another 2 years for the lady to work in that job. So why is it just 6 months?
No, I think it's a year. It's for the 23-24 year.
Yeah, but I think there was only funding for 6 months. So.
No, I think it was the full year.
I'll check that. I'm on the CoLab group, and that's what I was told. So anyway,
we might be talking cost purposes here, but we can talk about that afterwards.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else? No more questions? Okay, in which case I'm happy to move mine. Look for a seconder, Councillor Henry. Put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. So we now move to the confidential section. So ask for a mover and seconder to move into confidential, please. Councillor Coxhead, Councillor Granger, all those in